Anish, I want to ask you, what's the roadmap? What are the targets that you're setting? What is the action agenda that you're putting together at M&M?
I go back to what Sangeeta said. The primary word here is mindset. Because if you were to define success, success is not having conversations like this. Because that's really equality. And that's possible. I would tell you, growing up and through my early career, I never felt this divide. Right? That probably stems from my mother, who was in the second batch at IIM Ahmedabad, one of two women, and an entrepreneur in the late 60s. My wife, who's one of the leaders in education today. And I was in organizations mainly in the US where my first 5 bosses were women. Right? So coming back to India is when I really felt it, that this is different now. But that comes back to mindset, and how can we create the organization culture where it is viewed as equal, everything. Policies, how we relate to each other, seat at the table at all levels, that's when we will have success.
That's when we'll have success. Hitendra, what's the 5 priority areas for you?
No, I think we mentioned it earlier that it's the right thing to do for your customers, for your staff, for your management team. So, what is the right thing to do, you always do. So if, advertising at a particular spot, let's say in her industry, is the right thing to do, you do it. So I think we all, and this is all men in the organization, definitely the senior women in the organization, need to be re-emphasizing again and again. This is, if you want a long, successful business, you will not be able to do so unless you have diversity of inputs. And clearly science tells you or data tells you that you get that. I think the other thing, and the unconscious biases will have to go away. So one of the very senior leaders in my organization once told me that, what is happening, for the same, let's say, a very aspirational role, if it's there, you will take a bet on the men or the male candidate much more easily, but for the women, she has to pass much higher level of historical performance. And see, it is something I never thought of till it was told to me that, yes, he's done something, he's a great guy, he's gregarious, he'll get it done. And, in her case, she has to show that she's got like top rating.
And she won't talk about it, by the way. She will not talk about it.
So it is changing. At least in our organization, it is changing. There is no shyness in the organization, which is great, right? The third thing I think is, it was mentioned earlier, but you do need a proper mentoring, coaching, networking. It doesn't seem to come naturally for whatever reason. But it will come naturally if there is a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations, where whichever way you want to call it, the boys club, the girls club, or whatever, but it is seen to be the natural way, and that need not be just all women, but just a group of people who can go out. I also think you need specific programs. See, all talk will end up with nothing if we don't, now you want to call it reservation, but just somewhere where you're telling the women out there, and I want to use this broadcast to tell all the women out there, all the women in this room, that we, for example, have a program called Power to Her. It's a spectacularly successful program. Any woman who's taken a career break, for whatever reason, can come back 1 year to 25 years later, right? Anytime you want to come back, you want to taste the workplace once again because it's been a long time, come back for 6 months or 1 year. That gives you on-the-job experience, and we make every effort thereafter to make sure that that converts into a proper job. And last, like I said, I think in any organization, the senior leadership will have to take sponsor, will have to really drive this thinking, kill any negativity on that, and thereafter then it happens.
Well, and it is going to be a generational shift. It's going to be a generational change. Manish.
So I think one of the best, so if we look at a roadmap, what we'd love to get to is where we don't have to track these statistics anymore, and it just flows. And one of the lines that very early on got me thinking was, when I was told that there's a difference between being invited to the party and having fun at the party. It's very easy. We can send out invitations 50-50, but did you have fun at the party? If you had fun at that party, then you've made it work. So if we get it right, we wouldn't need to track this anymore. We're a long way from there, but if we can get to that point. And a couple of interesting experiments we're going to have to try to go above and beyond, right? A lot is spoken about when you're having a kid. The easy part is the 6 months off. If you don't do it, there's a law, and you've come to accept it.
how are you going to make it easy for folks to work when they come back?
Absolutely.
2 points. Hitendra spoke about the careers 2.0 or people coming back. The person who heads recruitment for us, she's in the audience today. She came back after having taken a break and actually led recruitment for us, that then it was obvious, saying if I can do it, it makes it easier. And I think experiments that if they work. So where I sit, just downstairs is the crash. So every time I look out of my window, I see a crash. And the number of people, who've come back in saying the hard part's not the 6 months.
Yeah,
it's when I've got to leave, my toddler at home and come to work.
Yeah.
Then it's, then each time I've sort of asked and saying, the kid's got a fever, I'm at work. Every time I'm asked is it worth it? That's when it starts to break down. And the fun part actually is, it's a lovely creche downstairs, a lovely daycare. And half the time actually there's guys in the office who are going down to check on their kids. And, over there is moms and dads. So if you facilitate some of these things, make it easier for folks to come back, you're not going away in the first place. And,
absolutely.
Like he was saying, stickiness is pretty much for life then.
Ambassador, your message?
My message is actually that there is no really sustainable development without taking all persons on board and really seriously on board, and give the chance to the boys and girls, equal chances to men and women. The other one is that this is really smart thing to do, because the companies are making better profit if they have more diversity on their boards. That is proven fact. There is a higher economic prosperity when everybody is engaged in equal manner. So it is a smart thing to do. And then the third thing is that there can be really a good life-work balance. My country is really having that, and that is really one of the reasons why Finland has been chosen 5th time in a year as the most happiest country in the world.
Absolutely.
So it makes you happy also.
Yes.
That you don't really always have to work. And the fourth is really that it is a mindset. I'm very proud mother of 2 children, 2 girls, who have married or boyfriends who can cook, clean, and take care of them.
Absolutely. And may their tribe prosper and increase as well. Mr. Venkatram.
I think number one priority always for us is tone at the top. The boss has to walk the talk. You've got to call out when people don't do it. You've got to take specific affirmative steps that people know that this is business and that it's good for business. The second is, we cleansed all our policies 7 years ago when we started the journey to say it should all be gender neutral. We don't want something for men and something for women. And that therefore means that even to the point that you made, that if you want people to not sit late, don't say women should not sit after 8 o'clock. Say nobody should sit after 8 o'clock. Because as long as the men sit, at promotion time, they say, I worked harder. So when you get them out of the office, get them all out of the office. I equally do it for drinks. I actually had a 1-hour drinks rule, because you find that women can't sit late, right? So you said, if you have an evening of cocktails, it's 1 hour. You want to stack 5 in front of you and do glug, 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 do it. But we stop in 1 hour. And I found that these, are very purposeful and they really work. The most important is sponsorship. We found that sponsorship are 2-tier for us. One is sponsorship for, as they're in their careers, critical jobs for us, like say, manager to senior manager to director, director to partner. But then when we really reviewed it, and I have Moini Shah who leads DEI for us, a very interesting twist we gave to this is, we said, let's look at our senior women partners and sponsor them too. Because we think that this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing you've got to do. You've unlocked the chakras and they're going to flourish. But you've got to go back and say, what's working, what's not working. And then you've got to go back and support them visibly. And every person in leadership has to do that.
Well,
that was 3.
And that's the perfect note to end this conversation on. I think we've heard some very meaningful, insightful ideas and, of course, actual experiences being shared here by the leaders. And I completely agree with you that it has to be thoughtful, it has to be purposeful, and it has to be a journey. It cannot be, checking the boxes. It has to be reviewed, assessed continuously, and it has to sort of stand the test of time. And just to end, I think we've been pretty mindful of this at CNBC-TV18 as well, and I'm very, very proud to say that we have zero attrition at the level of the mid-management where young mothers have taken off because of maternity. We want them back. We value them when they come back, and I think that's really the message that we need to send out to women who return back to the workforce. So many, many thanks to Hitendra Dave, Prabha, Anish, Sangeeta, Manish, Ambassador, and Mr. Venkatra for joining us here to kick off the first conversation at the Future Female Forward. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Thank you very, very much for your time. Thank you all the esteemed panelists and of course Shireen for that insightful conversation. And the long way we still have to go to ensure gender parity even in terms of mental health and burnout. As mentioned in Deloitte's Women at Work report, it's a holistic change that we need to bring out collectively. Let's explore a lot more journeys on the other side of the break. Stay tuned.